Good afternoon. Welcome to the June 24th meeting of the Rotary Club of Milledgeville. Everybody silence your cell phones as you stand up, and I'm going to ask Rotarian today, Jim Fain, to come forward and lead us in the pledge, prayer, and four-way.
All right, if you bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for the day that you've given us. Bless those that cannot be here with us, and anybody that's shut in, please protect them. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the four-way test. Number 1.
Is it the truth?
Number 2.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Number 3.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Number 4.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And the unwritten rule, number 5.
Is it fun? Thank you.
Participating on things, give that to me so I can record them.
Well, I can when I sit down. I don't have, I can't see it on here. Can somebody write it down? Do you know? Tom will get it. So sure. Okay, everybody reach in your pockets and get out your change or your dollar bills. Put them in the CART fund, the blue buckets, to support Alzheimer's research. Last week there was $24 in the blue bucket, so let's break it up and do isn't 6 times 4 24? Okay, so I need 4 $6 matches. All right, Crystal and Aaron. Okay, Jim. Need one more. Crystal, Aaron, Jim, and Carla. Thank you. Yep. Thanks. Okay. Do we have any prayer requests? Anybody? Bart Williams. Yes. Yes. He's had, I know, some difficulty. So yes, please continue to keep. Yeah, Bobby.
Scott Brown.
Scott. Yes, for sure. He was at Emory, I know, last week. So keep him in your prayers too. Any other prayer requests? Do we have any announcements about anything? So next week is July 1st. And so we typically do not meet the week of 4th of July. So we will not have a meeting here next week. So next week is July 1st. Will we have a meeting? No. So don't show up here next week, July 1st. We won't have a meeting. Okay. I'm sure I'm going to have one or two, so that'll be fun. Can't wait to ask who shows up. We have a special induction today. So I'm going to ask Jim Fain, and Lynn Chandler's not here, but those were Kristen Villarreal's dual sponsors. So I'm going to ask them to come, her and Jim to come up. Whoops. Let's stand right over here. Get this all prepared for you. Okay, whoops. Fellow Rotarians, it is my privilege and pleasure today to welcome into membership into our club, Kristen Villarreal. You have been approved for membership in the Rotary Club of Milledgeville because we believe you to be a worthy representative of your vocation, dedicated to the ideals of Rotary, and willing to do your share in translating these ideals into action. You have agreed to accept the obligations of membership and agreed to obey this club's constitution and bylaws. I charge you to judge yourself by the Rotary four-way test in your everyday walk. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? You will find that Rotary is not just another club, it is a way of life. We look forward to seeing what you will bring to this club to impact our community and our world. And always remember Rotary's motto, service above self. So congratulations, Kristen. You are at this moment one of the newest Rotarians in the world, and you have become part of a worldwide family of over 1.2 million members. Fellow Rotarians, please stand with me and help me welcome Kristen.
She did it because Lynn Taylor told her to.
Great job. Okay. No other announcements. We'll have our Sergeant at Arms, Derek Williams, come forward.
Guest with us today, Member Carl Walters' husband Eric's joining us again. It's good to have you with us again. Tom, I think you've got a returning guest as well. Oh, first time? I think this is a returner. Thought I'd seen that name.
Mike Livingston, Mike is new with Central Technology Partners. He is heading up our new security practice.
Excellent, excellent. Mike, Eric, good to have you guys with us. We have pushing about $400 in the pot. And we're down to, got them exactly how many tickets. We'll let our speaker roll. Pick one of those out. All right, last three digits. 830. What?
830. Hey, your good luck charm, new member, good luck charm.
First of all, you get $10 just for
Playing.
But to play, you pick one of these cards. We're down to this many left, about half the deck. If you pull the Queen of Hearts, you win the pot, which is about $400. If you don't, we tear that up and we keep going next week.
Which card is it?
One of the red, you just,
One of the red.
one of the red ones, that's right. Sixes. All right, very good. All right, thanks very much. Pot keeps going.
Woohoo. Thanks, Derek. All right. Aaron, would you like to introduce our speaker?
So today I'm pleased to introduce JoAnna Smith. She's with the Bright House, which is located on the Central State Hospital campus.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I am JoAnna Smith. I'm the program director of the Bright House. In case you don't know, a lot of people don't, the Bright House, we are a dual center. We're a sexual assault and a child advocacy center, which means that we see children who have been abused either physically, sexually, or witnessed a violent crime, and we do forensic interviews on those children. So we have an interview room that it's just the interviewer and the child, and then the agency that referred the child, whether it be law enforcement or DFACS, they're in another room watching that interview. So we also see victims of all ages for sexual assault. So we have SANE nurses who are nurses that are specially trained to do sexual assault kits that are then turned over to law enforcement and then sent, to the crime lab to get DNA evidence. So the purpose of our agency is to prevent the victim from having to go to several different locations. They don't have to go to the hospital. They don't have to go to the police station to have an interview. They don't have to then go to a counselor. We have a counselor in-house as well. So we have a medical room, an interview room, a counseling office, and then we have advocates that, help the families and the victims as well. So I'll just kind of go through. I can make sure. Okay. So I'll just kind of go through. Our mission is to provide a collaborative, coordinated community response to reduce the incidence of child maltreatment and sexual violence through prevention, intervention, and education. Our objective is to reduce trauma to child victims by providing a safe, comfortable location while ensuring that all their medical and emotional needs are met. So we are located on the Central State Hospital grounds in an old house. So that's a lot more inviting than an office, like a hospital setting or doctor's office type setting. We have a waiting room with a playroom for the kids, so they actually usually don't ever want to leave. They want to stay there and play when they get through. So just a timeline, we are the Bright House, and I'll kind of go into that. So our main organization is Southern Crescent Sexual Assault and Child Advocacy Center. We are the 4th location of Southern Crescent, but we are called the Bright House. Our former DA, now Judge, Stephen Bradley, suggested that we call it the Bright House after our former DA, Fred Brighton. And we are in a bright yellow house, so you can't miss us. So it kind of has a dual meaning. So we began in 1994, and then in 2000 we became a 501c3. We were just a sexual assault center at that time. Then in 2012 we became a child advocacy center. In 2013 is when the Hampton office was opened. 2017 is when the Noonan office was opened, and then 2019 is when we opened. So we opened in July of 2019 in a temporary location while our house was being renovated. We finished that renovation at Central State January of 2020, and then COVID hit. So, so again, what is a child advocacy center? We are a child-friendly facility that offers a safe place for the victims to come to our office. We utilize a multidisciplinary team approach, which means that we involve law enforcement, DFACS, the school system, other agencies within the county. We have monthly meetings where we go over the cases, kind of get updates to make sure, see if there are services that we can help with families. We don't go into any details, but we let, the school system know there may be the child has missed days from school, and that kind of helps the school system know that their grades may be declining, or why they may be missing school. So our services offered are the forensic interviews, the forensic medical exams, victim advocacy. We do have a 24-hour crisis line, and we offer trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, and then we do outreach and education programs. The benefits of the Bright House are our medical providers and our forensic interviewers are specially trained. We use a child first protocol, which is designed to get the information from the child without it being an interrogation. They're very open-ended questions, and we're neutral. So that way, when a case goes to court, we're neutral and we just get the information from the child. We don't ask direct questions or try to coerce the children in any way. Our counseling is trauma focused. We do offer all the services at one location. We're easily accessible, comfortable environment, minimal wait time, and again, the multidisciplinary team approach. So this is kind of before child advocacy centers kind of what happened. So the child may have to tell their story to law enforcement or a teacher, and then that person, then they have to tell someone else, and then someone else. And so, the child maybe has to talk to 5 or 6 different people and tell their story. So that's just, delaying them getting their story out and causing more trauma to the child. So the purpose of us is that once the report is made, then a referral is sent to us, and hopefully the child only has to tell his or her story one time to us, while, like I said, law enforcement and DFACS are in another room. And then, of course, if it goes to court, they may have to then testify, but at least they don't have to tell that story multiple times before something's done. So how to identify a child for a forensic interview. Again, if they're a victim of sexual abuse, physical abuse, domestic violence, substance abuse, if they've witnessed a homicide or they have a serious injury, if there's parental neglect, or if they've witnessed a violent crime, or if they're an alleged offender and they're under 12. So a lot of times we may have kids that are perpetrating on other children. So it may be brothers, sisters, cousins, something like that. But usually it's because someone's perpetrated on them. So we can interview those children if they're under 12 to try to find out where the abuse started. What is a forensic interview? It is a neutral fact-finding interaction with the specially trained interviewer using the MDT approach to get the allegations of the alleged maltreatment. It's conducted at the Child Advocacy Center when a report has been made by law enforcement or DFACS. Again, the purpose, I kind of skipped ahead on some of this. So again, the purpose of the interview is to individualize the needs of the child, to obtain the information from the child, to assess the safety of the child, to obtain information that will either corroborate or refute the allegations or suspicions of neglect or abuse, and to assess the need for medical treatment. So normally what we do is the interview first. So if they said it's sexual abuse, we'll do the interview first to try to get details. So that way the same nurse will know exactly how, to do the medical exam, excuse me. So we can collect DNA evidence even if there hasn't been if it's sexual assault, but there hasn't been penetration, even if it's touching, we can still get touch DNA evidence. So the nurse would need to know, if the child was touched on the face, the neck, where on the body, things like that, to collect that evidence. Also, depending on the needs of the child may be autistic or have ADHD or have some type of mental health issue. They may be developmentally delayed. So that can all be assessed in the interview. And the interviewer will know how to proceed with that interview. The child first protocol is first the interviewer does what's called rapport building. So just kind of getting to know the child. What's their name? What grade are they in? What are things they like to do? Things they don't like to do? Then they transition to, do you know why you're here? A lot of kids will definitely know why they're there. A lot of kids won't. So she kind of goes into body safety and that she talks to kids that have, something's happened to them or someone else, and then they'll usually disclose. Some kids don't ever disclose. A disclosure may have been made, but that child may not be ready to disclose yet. So then at that point, we can either do an extended interview or refer the child for counseling and then let the counselor build a relationship with that child. And then they will explore the details of the allegations and then close up the interview. So we don't ever get all the information and then just send them on. So we kind of talk to them to close it out. Well, what do you plan on doing today? What are some things you like to do? Do you have any vacations coming up? What do you like in school? What are you planning to do? Things like that. So it's kind of bringing the child back once they've reached the trauma that they've gone through, kind of getting them back down to where they can proceed with the rest of their day. What is the definition of sexual abuse? Sexual abuse occurs when an adult uses a child for sexual purposes or involves a child in sexual acts. It also includes when a child who is older or more powerful uses another child for sexual gratification or excitement. And then what is a forensic medical exam? So a medical exam that integrates the collection of forensic evidence. We offer both acute and delayed examinations. An acute examination is that same kit, the collection of DNA evidence. That's usually done within 120 hours or 5 days of the incident happening. If it's over that time, we still like to do a medical exam, and that's just kind of like a doctor's checkup, but the nurse, we have a nurse practitioner that does those, and she will still look at the genital area of the child just to make sure there are no injuries or no marks, bruises, things like that, as well as if it's physical abuse and it's over a certain amount of time, and then we take photos that can be used as evidence. That evidence can include evaluation of acute and well-healed injuries, and then that is conducted by a healthcare professional trained to provide the assessment, and then we do those in a child-friendly atmosphere. So in the exam room, we have our nurse practitioner or the same nurse, depending on the type of exam. And then we also have our advocate. And then the child, we have iPads they can play with. So they're usually pretty open to the examination. They're distracted by the iPad and their play. So, and it's very, like I said, child-led. So if at any time the child is uncomfortable or the child doesn't want to do a certain part of the exam, we don't force children to do anything. If they just want to come in, get their height, weight, blood pressure, that's fine. We just do as much as we can. The purpose of that medical exam is to focus on the health, safety, and well-being of the child, to obtain history from the child and the guardian, to diagnose and treat medical conditions resulting from abuse, as well as conditions unrelated to the abuse. And that includes, we've had our nurse practitioner, kids have come in for an allegation of sexual or physical abuse, and they've had strep throat or they've had ear infections. We've had kids that had heart murmurs or other issues. So definitely she can, identify those needs, and then we can refer them to their normal physician to reassure and educate the child and the family, and to document findings in a way that can be effectively presented. Who needs an exam? We like to get exams for all of the children that come into our office for that just that reason. Some of the kids that come in are in defects custody, so they may not be going to the doctor normally. So definitely if we can see that child and catch something, if they're sick or if there's something they need treatment for, like a heart murmur, things like that, we definitely like to see all the kids. If children may have previously been examined by a medical provider that was not specialized in child sexual abuse, so it may be that something was missed. And it's not limited by the date of the abuse, but we do like to get them in as soon as possible. And it's not limited to disclosure of penetration. And then again, disclosure is an ongoing process. So just some statistics. 1 in 4 girls will be sexually abused before the age of 18. 1 in 4 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18, and 1 in 33 men will be sexually assaulted. And those statistics probably have changed since the slideshow was made last year, but probably still close to that. Again, kind of going into the details of the acute exam, how that happens. Our crisis line, an officer will call the crisis line, and then we are 24/7. So if it's after our normal daytime hours, we have crisis responders that are on call at night and on the weekends. So they come into the office, our SANE nurse comes into the office and meets the victim, and law enforcement there to do that. So this kind of just goes over how that is accessed. They call the crisis line. They're either transported by family or sometimes law enforcement will bring them to the office. Then we follow up with the advocacy afterwards. How to access the services. Again, our 24-hour crisis line, and it's on the pins and the brochures that are passed out as well. And anyone can call that crisis line. So again, that's how to access the services if you need to come into the office for services, but we also have victims call that may want to remain anonymous, that just need some help or they need some referrals. So, you know, we have calls all the time. You know, people just want to know, well, I think my niece is being abused. What do I need to do? And we talk them through how to, you know, contact DFACS, how to contact law enforcement, how to go about that process. And then this is again the protocol continued. We get the name of the investigator if it's the investigator calling, the name of the law enforcement agency, the victim's gender, age, date of birth, any special needs, if they have any disabilities, if we need access to the language line or an interpreter, when the assault happens, the estimated time of the arrival at our office, and any special needs of the victim. So if it's a sexual assault kit that's going to be done and the victim still has the clothing on, law enforcement will take that clothing as evidence as well. So we provide change clothes to the victim. We have t-shirts, leggings, underwear, things like that that we can provide to the victim. So if the victim does go to the ER, say they have other injuries, maybe related, maybe unrelated to the incident, they would have to be cleared from the ER first, and then they could come to our office. And then we do require that the officer remain at our office, not only for safety, but also, like I said, they have to collect that evidence kit at the end of the exam. And then again, we give all the evidence to law enforcement, and they take it with them. Victims' rights. We do have to provide a free forensic medical exam, regardless of whether they cooperate with law enforcement. Law enforcement does have to be there. We do have to have a case number, but say the victim doesn't really know who their offender is, or they are unsure about whether they want to press charges at that time, they can cooperate with law enforcement enough to get a case started, and then law enforcement has to keep that kit on file until they decide whether they want to prosecute or not. If the victim does not cooperate, again, like I said, the evidence collected has to be maintained for a year, and then we can provide crime victims compensation for them to fill out. The MDT, going back to that, like I said, that includes law enforcement, child protective services, DFACS, medical, forensic interviewers, and prosecutors. So we also have someone from the DA's office in that meeting as well. And then this is our contact information, our PO box, our other locations, our website, and our Facebook page. And I know that I sped through that because it's kind of like I have it memorized almost, so I'm sure if anybody has any questions or is confused about anything, feel free to let me know. So go back to that. Another thing that we do, I don't think it said in here, the interviews for the children, we usually do those from the age of around 3, or if the child's verbal, to 17. We can still interview if they're 18 and still in school, and we can interview adults if they have documented developmental delays. So a lot of times law enforcement doesn't want to interview an adult victim if they have a delay. So if they're an adult but they do have a delay, we can still do those interviews as well. So.
How
Yes.
are you funded?
So we are a nonprofit, so we get federal funding through CJCC, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, and then donations from funders in the community fundraisers. We usually have this will be our 3rd year that we have a 5K. It'll be at our Hampton office though. Hopefully we'll be able to do one in Milledgeville, maybe another year or so. We planned to do one last year, but that didn't work out. So, yeah. So yeah, and then we also, we have partnered, we do work with the college as well, and we have a campus advocate that works with the college students to help them with their Title IX hearings and things. So we are trying to partner with the college on a lot of things to get involved with them. We've partnered with one of the sororities, and we're going to be working with them and doing a lot of things with them hopefully this year. So,
JoAnna,
yes.
I'm assuming a lot of referrals coming through the law enforcement.
Yes.
But how do you make yourself known to the masses so that?
Yeah, so events like this, we do try to, go out in the community and let people know. We, give law enforcement and DFACs our information so they can pass it out to the community. We're going to be participating in the back to school event that the college is having the end of next month. So we're going to, give out things to the kids there so they know. We're trying to get into the different school systems. Like I said, the counselors and stuff know, but the kids don't necessarily know. And a lot of times they may not feel comfortable going to their school counselor. So, we do have at our other offices a lot of like teenagers that'll call the crisis line. How do I go about this? Because I don't want to tell the school kind of thing. So we're hoping to get into the school system. I've talked with Baldwin High School's principal. I've talked to GMC, and I've talked to someone else. I talked to somebody else at one of the schools I talked to, trying to get in to have a meeting with their teachers, and then maybe put up, something in their school, on bulletin boards, posters, something like that, so the kids will know how to access it. We'd love to get into the schools and, have like a workshop at our other office towards the Jonesboro area. We have a education prevention person that it does go into the school, and there's a curriculum, but some of the school system, it has to be approved by the school board and things like that, and we just haven't made it to that here yet. So hopefully we will though. Yes.
What's the biggest thing that the community?
Just awareness, letting people know that we are here, and that I think a big misconception is that this doesn't happen, and so there's no need for this service. And we know that's not the case. It may not be as bad as what some people think, but we do a lot of interviews of kids, even if it's like preventative. The kids may have witnessed domestic violence in the home, or they may have witnessed drug usage in the home. They may have, witnessed anything happening in the community, or if it's just that the child's acting odd for their age. So say a 5-year-old is, trying to perform sexual acts. A 5-year-old doesn't normally do that. So, just doing an interview on them to try to find out what's going on in their life that's causing this. So just letting them know that, we're here to provide the services and to help, not, we're trying to do it we don't work for law enforcement. We don't work for DFACs. We're just there. It's kind of a go-between to get the information to help families. So,
How many kids do y'all serve in a year?
well, last year, due to COVID, it was not as high. So I think we serviced about 150 last year. In our Hampton office, of course, it's like 2,500 families and kids. So this year, we've already serviced about 150 already. So we're already met what we did last year. And that was, a lot of it was because DFAX was not working in the office, school was out. The teachers that are mandated reporters weren't there to report things. DFAX was doing home visits instead of, virtual home visits and not able to go out to the homes. So a lot of stuff probably didn't get reported that could have gotten reported. So, that's another reason why, if they know that the crisis line's there and they can call the crisis line, because we love DFAX, but we have issues with DFAX and we know they're overworked. So a lot of times things may get screened out that, if they call us and we can kind of then contact DFAX and say, hey, we know this report was made, what's going on with that? So we can even, just follow up on things like that to try to help.
But they have to come to you through the police officer.
So the referrals we have to have an investigative party. So it has to come from law enforcement, DFAX, DJJ, DA's office, someone like that. Because they have to sit in to watch that interview. But like I said, we can contact, directly and say, what's going on with this case? Yeah. Why haven't you sent it to us? So. Yeah. No. So we don't, So we don't house anyone there. So we're not a shelter. So if they need services like that, the closest shelter we have is Greensboro, which is Circle of Love. So we work with them. And then we can also, help them try to get accommodations if they are homeless or need a shelter for the night. So, but no, we don't house anyone there. Any other questions? All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you, JoAnna. And our speaker's gift is actually a beautiful handmade pen. Pick out your favorite.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for, I was unaware of that, as I think a lot of people were, that resource was out there. So thanks for filling us in, and we'll share all that y'all do to help with awareness in the community. So thank you. I forgot my sheet. Do we have a meeting next week? Y'all passed. Thanks to our guests today, Eric and Mike. Y'all are invited back anytime. Glad to have you. And any other announcements? So we won't have a meeting next week, and then we'll do in this officer changeover on July 8th. Yeah. Okay. Thanks again. Have a great day.